ringgit decline not ignored as investment figures remain intact. Robust measures reflect dedication in nurturing business environment. Good evening and Salam Malaysia Madani. You're watching Malaysia Tonight. I am Olivia Nicholas. Malaysia has agreed to increase financial aid to the United Nations Relief and Works Agencies for Palestine refugees in the Near East, or UNRWA, following the actions of several major countries to stop their contributions. Prime Minister Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim, who shared the matter in his conversation with the President of Egypt, Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, yesterday, said besides the annual aid, Malaysia has also recently contributed an additional $2.1 million to UNRWA.
This is in addition to $250,000 to the Egyptian Red Crescent Society and $500,000 to the Palestine Red Crescent Society. The Premier had called Sisi yesterday to congratulate him on winning the Egypt election. In a post on Facebook today, Dato Sri Anwar also conveyed his appreciation to President Sisi and the Egyptian government for their important role in helping facilitate the delivery of 100 tons of humanitarian aid worth $1.2 million from Malaysia to Palestinians in Gaza. During his conversation with Sisi, Dato Sri Anwar said both of them expressed their commitment to continue strengthening Malaysia-Egypt bilateral relations, not only regarding the Palestinian issue, but also on trade and economic issues to bring the ties to a higher level. He also invited President Sisi to visit Malaysia.
On another note, the Madani government is not ignoring or taking the decline of the ringgit lightly, as it is making continuous efforts to address the issue while simultaneously assuring Malaysia's investment figures remain intact. Dato Sri Anwar said the central bank has been assigned to monitor the ringgit closely, and on the government side, relevant ministries and authorities are conducting daily meetings to tackle the issue.
It's concerning. We're looking at it, and luckily it's strengthened a little. But you look at the overall, you see, investments, the biggest ever in the country. Inflation continues down, unemployment down. Growth we can sustain as compared to our neighbours. So I think look at the comprehensive view and the capacity for the country to grow. And what is most, to me, reassuring is the investment figures.
Dato Sri Anwar noted that if confidence was reduced because of the ringgit, Malaysia would not have been able to achieve its record high investment of 329.5 billion ringgit last year, an increase of 23.0% from 2022.
Tetapi mengapa harus dilihat hanya dari segi ringgit dan dibandingkan dengan 98, tapi di mana saya sebut tadi, ringgit jatuh, pelaburan jatuh, inflasi naik, jadi dia tak sama.
At the same time, the Premier said it is important for the government to focus on what can be done and what needs to be done on a daily basis.
Earlier, the Prime Minister launched Tun Razak Exchange (TRX) as Malaysia's international financial centre. In his keynote address, Dato Sri Anwar said as the country's international financial centre, TRX would enjoy special status whereby the government has provided a slew of incentives for companies moving their base here.
This encompasses an industrial building allowance, tax exemption on 70% of the statutory income for a period of 5 years for property developers, stamp duty exemption on loan and services for TRX status company, and an income tax exemption of 100% for a period of 10 years.
He said after a decade of development, TRX symbolizes Malaysia's aspirations to create a leading global financial district, supporting its ambition to compete on the world stage.
We have also embarked on a very aggressive policy to ensure that Malaysia be able to be considered a major center for Islamic halal and also financial activities in a different connotation.
The 28.33 hectare Tun Razak Exchange is located at the heart of Kuala Lumpur, boasting state-of-art infrastructure and cutting-edge facilities. TRX City Sdn Bhd TRXC, a wholly owned subsidiary of MOF Inc., is the master developer of the TRX district.
Effective next month, a total of 35,000 taxi drivers and 18,000 school bus drivers in the country will benefit from Social Security Organisation SOCSO subscription, which will be paid fully by the government. In announcing this, Transport Minister Anthony Lok said 90% of their SOCSO subscription will be borne through an allocation from the Finance Ministry, while the Transport Ministry is paying the remaining 10% for 1 year.
Dan kita difahamkan Kementerian Kewangan ada memberikan satu dana kepada Perkeso sebanyak 100 juta ringgit untuk mencarum sehingga 90% untuk pemandu taksi, pemandu e-hailing, P-hailing dan sebagainya. Tetapi walaupun 90%, tetapi 10% itu perlu dicarum oleh pemandu sendiri. Jadi untuk sektor golongan pemandu taksi, kita akan buat caruman tambahan 10% itu.
The move, he said, was to provide social protection to taxi and school bus drivers in the event of an accident. Elaborating on the matter, Lok said he had discussed with SOCSO the implementation of the initiative as well as the list of taxi and school bus drivers from the Land Public Transport Agency, APAD.
Moving on to some economic news, robust anti-corruption measures underscore the government's dedication to nurturing a transparent and equitable business environment. In addressing significant hurdles to spur economic progress, the Sultan of Perak, Sultan Nazrin Shah, said the nation must prioritize good governance to bolster investor trust.
His Royal Highness said Malaysia is not immune to the complexities of the global economic landscape influenced by geopolitical shifts, trade dynamics and major power alliances. The Sultan noted that the country remains susceptible to adverse impacts such as those stemming from the Ukraine-Russia war and the prolonged Palestine-Israel conflicts compounded by ongoing conflict in Gaza. His Royal Highness said government initiatives targeting new growth sectors represent a strategic move to elevate the nation's global competitiveness, and it is imperative for Malaysia to project itself as a stable, peaceful and harmonious nation. Sultan Nazrin also said that a stable, peaceful and harmonious nation holds the potential to flourish, bestowing its prosperity to the well-being to uplift of its people. His Royal Highness said citizens of a stable, peaceful and harmonious nation demonstrate a mature mindset, embracing diversity and recognizing their strengths and weaknesses and focusing on combining their strengths to drive progress.
And some news on small-medium enterprises. Market-based financing is crucial in empowering SME innovation as Malaysia evolves into a high-income economy.
According to the Institute for Capital Market Research Malaysia, ICMR, market-based financing offers a range of funding options including initial public offerings, venture capital, private equity, equity crowdfunding, ECF, and peer-to-peer P2P lending. By providing access to these diverse funding sources, market-based financing addresses the challenges posed by limited collateral and credit history, as well as reduces SMEs' reliance on a single funding channel, thereby enhancing their financial resilience. Elaborating further, ICMR Director Datin Azlin Othman Rani noted that leveraging networks through government agencies and business associations was the top preferred medium for obtaining information about market-based financing. Therefore, regulators recognize market operators, advisors, sponsors, and other intermediaries should strengthen their networks with business associations and government agencies to disseminate information on market-based financing offerings to SMEs. In its market-based financing for SMEs in Malaysia, issues, challenges, and the way forward report, the ICMR revealed that market-based financing is the least utilized financing option, while 64% of SMEs have experience in external financing, with most opting for funding from banks.
Now, Malaysia's automotive sector total industry volume, TIF, is expected to trend downward in 2024 as the impending fuel subsidy rationalisation is likely to hurt the demand for mid-market models, while affordable vehicle sales remained optimistic.
Kerana Research anticipates new vehicle sales of 710,000 units, while Hong Leong Investment Bank Berhad HLIB foresees 2024 TIV at 720,000 units compared with the 740,000 units projected by Malaysia Automotive Association MAA. According to HLIB, Malaysia's TIF achieved a new record high of 799,600 units last year. Kerana Research noted that industry earnings feasibility is still strong, backed by a booking backlog of 200,000 units as of end January 2024, unchanged compared to a month ago. The research house said they expect a similar trend in calendar year 2024 or CY 2024, given the equally strong lineup of new launches. Meanwhile, excitement is building in the electric vehicle EV segment with the new launches of BYD Seal and Tesla Model 3, with the expected introduction of the locally made first national EV in CY 2025. Kerana Research believes a new car is still an affordable luxury for most Malaysian households, despite the high inflation and a slowing global economy underpinned by strong consumer confidence, supported by a stable economy and a healthy job market.
Onto the property sector, Sime Darby Property Berhad is hoping 2024 would be more favourable for the property industry compared with 2023, supported by the gradual easing of interest rates in the United States and United Kingdom, as well as a stable labour market.
Its Group Managing Director Dato' Azmir Merikan said the easing of interest rates would impact or influence other monetary decisions globally, hence leading to cheaper homes as affordability increases. Elaborating on the labour market, Dato' Azmir said a stable labour force for the whole year compared with last year would mean that the sector would be able to progress without interruption at sites. He said, however, that in sustaining the growth it achieved in 2023, one of the challenges is to focus on the investment and asset management segment, where it would need to invest in recurring income. For 2024, the group is targeting 3.0 billion ringgit in sales and launches worth 3.9 billion ringgit in total gross development value (GDV). He noted that it would have a diversified launch GDV pipeline which consists of 34% industrial, 32% residential landed, and 31% residential high-rise. Meanwhile, the group is also maintaining its targeted gross profit margin this year of between 20% and 25%, considering potential fluctuations in material prices.
Moving on, Port of Kelang and Tanjung Pelepas in Johor continue to remain in the top 20 busiest ports in the world. According to Transport Minister Anthony Loke, Port Kelang recorded the highest container handling volume in its history at 14.06 million 20-foot equivalent units TEUs in 2023, while Port of Tanjung Pelepas handled 10.48 million TEUs last year.
Prestasi cemerlang tersebut adalah mencerminkan kepesatan ekonomi Malaysia sebagai komponen penting di rantaian bekalan dunia. Saya nak menekankan bahawa nisbah kargo transshipment dan kargo tempatan di Pelabuhan Kelang telah berubah dari 70-30 pada tahun 2014 hingga 55-45 pada tahun 2023.
And now we move on to our next segment on the table. Over to you, Mohana.
Good evening and welcome back to On the Table, where we discuss current issues making the news. Now, the sales and service tax is scheduled to increase from 6% to 8% on the 1st of March, which is just around the corner. With us in the studio today, we welcome back Dr. Muhammad Afsanizam Abdul Rashid, Chief Economist of Bank Muamalat Malaysia, Berhad. Doctor, thank you so much for coming back on the studio.
Sure.
So, Doctor, let's first hear your thoughts on the immediate impact on the economy as a result of this move.
Well, I think the main concern, obviously, if this increase in taxes would actually result in the, perhaps an impact to the inflation. Well, I think there will be some impact, but I suppose the impact will be manageable because there are, certain exceptions being given to the increase to the service tax, whereby food and beverages sector and also communication sector are being exempted. On that note, the upside risk to inflation still visible on that note. But on the other hand, we have a situation whereby the government's revenue stream could be improved further because of the increment in taxes. So this would, one, improve their fiscal deficit situation, whereby this year the government is expecting to have a lower fiscal deficit to GDP ratio to around 4.3%. Last year it was 5%. So it seems that they are on track to achieve such a trajectory. And given that improvement in their revenue stream, thereby it would help them to have a more fiscal space for them to spend on development expansion, for instance. So there are, two sides of the coins when we talk about the impact of the economy.
Okay, so let's peel this back a bit. So you mentioned inflation and how the SST does not apply to food and beverages and telecommunication industries. So can you tell me why the rates here are being maintained at 6%? Is it to create that balance, or is there a reason why these sectors are being put on the back burner?
True. I think the government is trying to strike a delicate balance here. Like I mentioned, they want to make sure that their finances are intact. Their fiscal deficit target will be met by end of the year. But there's also a trade-off whenever they implement such measures, and that will be inflation. And since they are giving exemptions to F&B and also communication, and we know this F&B sector account almost 1/3 of our consumer price index.
Okay.
So on that note, perhaps the impact to the inflationary pressures being minimized, because the large chunk of food and beverage sector is being exempted, and also communication sector is also part and parcel of our daily lives. And when that being exempted, then the impact to the a possible increase in communication prices will be mitigated to a large degree.
Okay, yeah. I was going to say Malaysians love eating out.
Yeah.
F&B plays a big role in our lives. So, Doctor, do you expect any price increases by service providers like hotels? Will there be a compound effect because of increase in operational costs and escalations in areas like that?
Right. These are the common questions being posted to economists.
Yeah.
So on that note, perhaps we might want to look at the projections of our inflation this year. Last year, our inflation was hovering at 2.5%. And this year, based on the government's latest projections, they are anticipating that inflation would linger around 2.1% to 3.6%. So that's a positive growth in inflation rates. That would mean there is a price increase. It's just that the price increase will be at a manageable level. So on that
when you say manageable, what do you mean?
Manageable meaning the pace of increment is not that, within the range of their targets, I would say.
Okay.
Between 2.1% to 3.6%. 3.6 being the highest.
And they're expecting that the consumers are able to handle that increase, that level of increase.
Yeah, to a large degree, that could be something that can be tolerated. But I'm not trying to downplay the issue.
Yes.
There will be some knee-jerk reactions, but given that our economy, I would say, is still operating at a full employment status, that will mean I think this kind of adjustment can be, accepted by most of our societies. But those who are in the low-income categories, measures like the income cash transfers, like STR, SARA, that would help them to navigate these challenges.
And that's why PADU has come into effect as well, and so that we understand what the...
True. At least we want to make sure that any financial assistance, financial aid will go directly to those who are
deserving and who need it.
Right.
Okay. Now, Doctor, online marketplaces such as Shopee and Google, are we expecting an increase there? Because there are reports on them increasing their SST rates.
Yeah.
Streaming platforms as well.
Right.
How will that look?
Yeah, I think it will. We shall experience some increment in all these subscription rates, and then because of the adjustment in the services tax, like I said, there could be some knee-jerk reactions. But I like to think that the online space, the e-commerce space, the competitions are very stiff. And perhaps along the way there will be, discounts, or any promotions.
So the market forces will come.
Right. That they mean, because I think they have been enjoying quite good margins.
Yeah.
Then perhaps they can allow to give some concessions to the loyal customers, so to speak. Yeah.
Okay. So we spoke about cause and effect. Now the tax hike will definitely increase the government revenue in some way,
right,
and ultimately benefit. You did mention aid, like SDR and subsidies and all that. So tell me how else, in terms of how else people can, or rather the deserving people would benefit from this. How will this be channeled directly? I know that PADU is coming into effect, but when will that take place, and how will the government do that?
Essentially, PADU is about the database.
Database first,
yes. To make sure it is robust. And with that, such a robust system, then they would be able to identify who are the deserving recipients of these cash aids.
Okay.
And if they can do it in the right way, then they can reduce the possible wastages. Because at this juncture, for instance, like subsidies on fuel, those who are in the high income categories are the ones
also enjoying it.
Right. Yes. So that's a form of leakages. So I think the PADU is, ultimately the spirit is to address those issues. So in that way, how it can benefit our society, our citizens, is that the government will be able to do some savings. Then with that additional savings, they can plow back in terms of more aids to the qualified recipients.
But right now, we don't have much clarity about how that's going to work.
True.
Right? So I'm hoping
we have to wait.
We have to wait.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, Dr. Malaysia is one of the lowest tax revenue collectors in the region in Southeast Asia, and this is according to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. And moving forward, I think the government probably needs to diversify the revenue stream at some time so that the same people are not burdened with so much tax.
Right.
Is this right?
Yeah, I think if you look at the tax to GDP ratio, the benchmark is 15%. In our case, I think we fall short from that.
Okay, for the layman, can you explain that a bit?
It means that how much the country be able to collect taxes, and in relation to the size of the economy, the healthy level will be 15%. 15%? 15%.
Okay.
But in our case, we are less than that. That means we, in a way, undertaxed lah.
That's scary.
Right, because the government essentially they need their revenue stream to prescribe spending program, be it in the form of operating expenditure or development expenditure.
Of course.
So then they need to have a robust tax system. So I think the government is trying to address those issues by having a higher services tax is one of them. I think the government actually recently launched this low value goods tax, luxury goods tax. So a series of new tax and increment in tax rates. So these are the measures that has been taken by the government. But at the same time, they are also increasing their financial aids, the likes of STR. The allocation has been raised from 8 billion to 10 billion. So that will give them space to help our Malaysian citizens, especially those who are in the low-income categories.
In your opinion, is that enough? Or is there anything else that you feel needs to be buffered?
It will never be a perfect system. We will never, hit the target in a short time period of time. But I think at least the government is trying to put their efforts and doing the right thing. Yeah.
Okay. Now, before I let you go, Doctor, the Department of Statistics said Malaysia will be attaining aging nation status earlier than expected, and this will be coming around 2030. There are calls to allocate more spending on the healthcare sector and other infrastructure to prepare for an aging population in the country. What are your thoughts on this, and how can we do this?
Yeah. Aging populations essentially will have an implications in terms of tax collections, because when there will be more our citizens being retired from the labour markets, then we will have a smaller pool of taxpayers.
Correct.
So that will have an implications to the tax collections, and therefore I think why among the reasons why the government needs to look at their spending and raising their tax revenue so that they are in a prepared state lah whenever this situation of aging population comes to the picture lah. So there's a lot of areas that need to be looked at, and obviously
healthcare is just one of them.
So we know that the expenditure part will rise at some point. So now is the time for the government to sort of restructuring their revenue stream, restructuring their expenditure. So but when the time comes, they are able to service all these requirements now.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Afzal Nizam.
Sure.
Thank you so much for your time and for your insights today, and we hope to have you back in the future. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for On the Table tonight. Thank you so much to Dr. Afzal Nizam for your insights. It's now back to you.
Thank you, Mohana. And that wraps up Malaysia Tonight. I am Olivia Nicholas, and together with my colleague Mohana Priya, we'll see you next time. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Thank you for watching.